All right, so today we have Jeb Bruneau. Jeb, thank you for coming to the podcast. You're actually our second guest, and I know you have a lot going on, and we appreciate you coming.
I'm excited to be here. Thank y'all for having me, and it's fun thing to do on a
So,
Friday work day.
so for those that don't know who Jeb is and what he does, he's the president of ABC.
Right,
Is that the-
president, CEO, executive director. I'll take
Tell
whatever
it-
title you wanna give me.
So tell us what ABC is and what you do there.
So ABC is Associated Builders and Contractors. We're not an insurance organization. We're not, ABC. We're not alcohol beverage control.
Right, there's a lot of possibilities.
But we're Associated Builders and Contractors, which is a national organization made up of 67 chapters around the United States representing the construction industry. In New Orleans, or the New Orleans area, we represent the 12 parishes around Metro New Orleans. Don't make me name all of them right here on the spot, but I probably could do that. And we have an industrial and commercial base in our area. We have the river parishes. We're on the North Shore. We're down in Bayou. And then, of course, we're down at the end of the world, right? Plaquemines Parish, too. So it's all the contractors that are building the hospitals, the infrastructure. Hopefully this new Omni Hotel that's been proposed. I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
So all of those types of things. And we have companies like Gibbs. That there was an article in the paper. It's coming
Yeah, I
about
saw that.
second generation in 50 years. But then we also represent the big industrial folks too that are up and down the river and in Plaquemines Parish at the LNG plant. So we're the voice for those folks.
Are you also the president of the Pelican chapter, or is there a different
I'm
guy?
not. So like I said, we have 67 chapters in the United States. The Pelican chapter is in Baton Rouge and represents primarily the chemical corridor, if you will, and Lake Charles, and some places in North Louisiana as well. Together we form ABC Louisiana. So there's two chapters in Louisiana, and we come together and do a few things together. One, we have a lobbyist that we employ statewide, and there's a board made up of stakeholders from both our chapters. And we make endorsements and races, and Carson Delarue is our lobbyist. He's in Baton Rouge, and he's also our intermediary between us and ABC. ABC National has lobbyists in D.C., and so we do a trip up to Washington, D.C., we do a day at the state capitol, we have a fishing rodeo, and we do a state convention, which is coming up actually next week.
You know, Tasch is a member of ABC and has been for years. In fact, I think we were a member before you became president. And
Thank you.
one thing that always, scared me about joining a group was, how would I be treated? And the moment that I started going to meetings, I felt, comfortable and part of a group.
It's a community,
Yeah.
and so that's the whole basis. It's our job as staff. It's your organization, right? You guys represent construction in Metro New Orleans. That's who we are, and so we want you to feel comfortable as soon as you come in the door, or if it's us reaching out to you. The whole idea is like-minded folks that compete against each other every day,
Right.
but then can come together for the greater good of the whole community, to celebrate, to have a little fun, and also just to build a workforce. Just we're better united than we are fighting, and even with other organizations in the construction industry, and even with our folks that are not members of us, we still are representing them every day in everything that we do. A prime example of that is when COVID hit and the world shut down and Louisiana shut down and ABC shut down a little bit, right? We were told stay at home. I don't know, a year on the job, and I'm in this nice building with 2 welding shops and 2 classroom buildings, and I'm by myself. And I'm like, this is really strange.
But I heard you got a call from some leading industry people and decided to collaborate on how to get, was it the state government or the federal government to consider construction as essential?
Critical.
Yeah, so
Critical?
it
So how did that go
It was
down?
happening different around the country, and if you remember, it's kind of like when Hurricane Katrina happened. That's the first time I received a text message. Well, when COVID happened,
okay.
that's when Zoom and all of these other things took off. But yes, so different people were trying to figure it out, and the state had not come out with anything, and we said we need to make sure that construction is considered essential, because you're talking about hospitals, you're talking about just every way of life, and people think of construction projects and they just think of what they see going on, but it could have melted down our infrastructure if we weren't.
Who was the
essential.
governor at the time?
John Bell was governor.
Okay.
And so, an administration that maybe we didn't have as many inroads into as others, but our lobbyist at the time was able to raise his hand and say, hey, it's pretty important for everything that we do going forward for construction to be essential.
Who's going to build the sneeze guards and those kind of things?
So
You
we
had to
were,
have those.
we were pretty proud that we won. That's funny. That we were able
like
to
the
get that
least-
to happen.
Keep up, Jeff.
I'm trying, sneeze guards. But it's crazy you say that. We had to postpone our spring semester, and what we did is we just pushed it into the summer. So in addition to collaboration and representing all of these companies, we also have craft training at our facility.
I was wondering what you were talking about.
And so we operate 4 nights a week, 6 to 9 o'clock, 2 semesters, and we have welders and instrument technicians and electrical training and HVAC and all these things going on our campus.
And nothing was happening.
And it's like, what are we going to do? So we decided, hey, the state came out with some interesting guidelines of social distancing and temperature checks and all that. But we read through the guidelines and we said, hey, and with Zoom and Teams and all these electronic advances, we can do this. Now, it was challenging. We had to pivot and do some things, but we were basically able to run that semester through that summer, doing temperature checks, doing some things virtually or having an instructor and spacing people out. And guys, that was crazy, Tom. We had the whole building sprayed. Nobody understood exactly. It looked like Ghostbusters, and people. We paid a little bit of money to just ensure people's wellness.
Now,
so
Shelby, as you know, Shelby's our HR director at our company, and I know she might have a couple of questions about what you're doing with labor and the labor shortage.
Yeah. So a big question I have is, getting young people in the industry. If you could talk about like the Workforce Academy.
Absolutely. So 2 things. Just talking about workforce in the New Orleans greater region, right? And so we are located in St. Rose in the river parishes, but we have had satellite campuses. We have some activity at some of the high schools on the North Shore, Fontainebleau and Covington and Ponchatoula. We also were downriver in Plaquemines Parish when they
Wait, you have schools down in those places?
Well, we have MOUs basically with existing, like these teachers teach craft training to students during the day.
What's an MOU?
Memorandum of Understanding.
Oh,
basically.
okay.
Just a agreement with like.
But it's not like at Delgado.
School system. No, these are high school students.
High schools.
Yeah, we see some of them at our campus at night.
Okay.
They're learning during the day. Not everybody was comfortable coming to our campus. So about workforce. So it's a lot of the folks that are, you mentioned craft training, right? We believe that college is a great thing, but it's not for everyone, right?
Correct.
So 4-year institutions provide a service. I can tell you, though, it's not for everyone, and there's a great way to go make a living.
Yeah, but we used to
with
have
apprenticeship and craft training.
We used to have shop at high school. I remember I did some work at.
Bring it back.
20 years ago, we did some work at O. Perry Walker. I don't know if they shut down then or when it was. Maybe it was right after Katrina. And the shop that they had welding shops, they had woodworking shops. We tore all that stuff out, threw it all away. So, when I was in high school, graduated from Hahnville in '81, shop was a big deal. Mechanic shop, woodworking shop, it was all there. Now, Hahnville is starting to do that again.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
Actually, St.
Because you're in the river parishes, so you know what Hahnville and Destrahan are doing.
Yeah, St. Charles is a real success story. I mean, they have the career center there, and actually.
But you also have all the plants, and so you have
yes,
all that stuff.
I mean, Hahnville and Destrahan in particular, or students from St. Charles Parish, we see a lot of those folks at night. It's generational to a degree, but also I think we've won over the families, the moms and the grandmoms that are saying, no, you have to go to a 4-year institution. They see that you can go make a six-figure salary.
Yeah,
within
you
a couple
and
of years.
you and Mike Rowe. I mean, Mike Rowe is certainly hasn't hurt. I mean, right?
Right. So back to your original question, you mentioned America's Workforce Academy. So this is something brand new. ABC National just combined with Meta, and Mike Rowe's foundation to create America's Workforce
Oh,
Academy.
I didn't even know that.
And there's 3 pilot chapters. Louisiana is in the mix. That's going to be breaking ground and training people and sending people to these Meta training centers. And
They're going to build facilities like brick and mortar facilities.
They're going to train at. We're gonna. I say we. ABC is going to have these 3 pilot programs of training centers. We're going to train people and send them to work at the Meta facility in North Louisiana in Richland Parish. But this is going to go on all over the country.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Houston, Baton Rouge, and somewhere in Indiana, the first 3. But Meta's like wanting to train more and more people to gear up. I don't know if you saw the economic development announcement, but like it's a multi-billion-dollar project. What's going on in North Louisiana? And it's funny. I just left a meeting with Gino Inc. and they were talking about site selection, and this was a piece of property that was identified when Governor Foster, who's no longer with us, was governor. And you put it in inventory and you develop, and here we are in 2026, and Meta's building the largest data center in the country.
You mean in Ridgeland or the one north of that? Like
Richland Parish.
Richland
Yes,
Parish.
northeast Louisiana.
Okay.
But a lot of their workforce is going to come from right here
Sure.
in the New Orleans metro region.
Right.
Louisiana, they put out, it's amazing the power of, I guess, social media or these big platforms, because we're all the time trying to help our local contractors with workforce and job alignment and what have you. Well, Meta put out, or Mike Rowe's foundation, they put out this thing looking for people, and the number of applicants from Louisiana is over the top.
So what's the disconnect? I mean, you got all these applicants and you got all these jobs that are required. You know, we talked about this the other day, is still things are getting built. So you say there's this massive shortage of people.
Like upcoming, right?
I don't
Like,
see like there's now if this hotel is happening and then you've got the data centers and you've got other things, so that maybe it starts to show up a bit more.
It's an enigma a little bit, though, because everybody
that's what I'm
says we have a
saying.
workforce issue,
We still build stuff.
and yet things still go on. So I think it does exist, but I also think that people are clever and smart about retaining good talent and keeping their own people. But I definitely think there's opportunity. I mean, the operator class is aging out, and technology is changing things as well. I mean, the way that you used to be trained on construction was kind of the hard fire and brimstone sort of
Right.
way.
Right.
And now, if you're a video gamer, you might be able to operate a piece of equipment from a
Right.
couple of miles away.
Yeah, that tower crane that I saw on Jefferson Highway by Oshner, there's maybe
Yeah.
a 25-year-old or up there with a set
Yeah,
of
you might
desks.
be sitting in an office
And
like
he's-
just like this,
Yeah.
or in a sea can somewhere that's air conditioned in a chair with a bunch of joysticks, and you're controlling
things
several pieces.
change.
That's the wave of the future. So that operator is going to be different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
it's
can-
also there is going to be a need for more people to get into that line of
and
work.
not even just on the industry, like us needing that, but like when we go to career fairs at high schools, with the the market being the way it is now, and like everything is just so expensive, there's a lot of kids that are saying, well, I thought I was going to go to a 4-year school, my parents don't have the money, I don't know what I'm going to do.
We did.
And it's so important that they understand that this is a viable option.
We
So
saw
it's not
that.
even just that, oh, well, everybody in the industry is in their late 40s and 50s. What are we going to do when these people retire? I mean, these kids, they really need it too. They need to know,
Yeah.
I don't just have to go get a 4-year
Where did
degree.
we do? We did Fisher down in Lafitte. We did Hornville.
Mm-hmm.
We did a couple of job fairs, and I went to them in the evenings, and I was really shocked at how many families and parents were very open to the idea of a welder, or a painter, or
That's great.
a plumber, an electrician. I was really kind of surprised.
Because I think kids sometimes they feel forced into doing some things,
Yeah,
and so
yeah, for sure.
particularly if your family is open and you have that support group, you can get
Now
some
we-
schooling and get educated in crafts and apprenticeship training and be making really good money in a short period of time, and
Without all the
debt-free.
debt, yeah.
And we could talk about labor, and we could talk about this for hours. But I want to go back to politics, and I want to go back to your history, right? Can you tell us a little bit about growing up and why you, or like, were you in politics? Was your family in politics, and why did you go to so many boxing matches
So that's
when you were a child?
that's got all kind of
'Cause
connotations for me,
yeah.
and
Because I think all of those stories are fascinating. You can start with the oldest story first,
it's pretty neat. So
It led to how you're
and then
here.
how did
really.
you wind up in this
Yeah.
spot?
it's certainly a windy path, but I
Right.
appreciate the question. So yes, my grandfather was involved in real estate in New Orleans, and the boxing was a big deal in that
This
era,
your
in the
father's
late 70s.
father,
Yeah,
so
this
a
is-
Bruno.
Yes, Emile Bruno.
Bruno.
French way, Bruneau,
Prop-
translates into brown water.
Really?
It's a little side story, but I married the Wablon, which is another a French name, and her name translates into white wood. So I always say, well, you brown
my
water
God.
Very
and
nature-like,
white
huh?
wood.
Really?
But back to your question. So
Bruno.
yes, my grandfather was actually head of the Louisiana Boxing and Wrestling Commission, and so I got to really see. I remember Ali Spinks as a kid. I remember Roberto Duran and the No Mas fight in New Orleans, and just the craziness that entailed. And so I guess, but that was a appointed position by the governor, the boxing. And my
What
grandfather
wrestling?
also-
I mean, I understand boxing, but what was the wrestling?
wrestling was crazy.
Was it
right?
like-
because that's in the heyday of, for those that don't remember, the before.
So
Vince
we're not
McMahon
talking
and
about-
WWF and E.
Okay.
This is Mid South Wrestling.
Okay.
This is the Municipal Auditorium. This is the
There's a,
the
grunge.
stadium, the Ranger. This is the cage match.
oh,
in
the VFW Hall. Could we
Superdome.
see
I mean, this is the Junkyard Dog and Ted
Nice.
DiBiase
Yeah.
and the Midnight Express and the Freebirds, and this is the 70s and the early 80s. A crazy time, but I get off topic a little bit. It was pretty cool as a young New Orleanian.
but why did the governor give your grandfather this appointment? Well, what was the
It was
connection?
through several governors. I mean, I don't know if I have the exact
even know
answer to
why.
that, but,
Right.
but it was. He went on to serve a couple of years for one of the World Boxing Associations, and
That's right, it's crazy.
yeah,
And New Orleans was a huge boxing town.
it really was. It
Back
really
then.
was. And boxing has changed, and now MMA has kind of filled that spot. But
I mean, back in the 20s and the 30s, there were a couple of
So,
the
you know,
names.
I mean-
like the most important boxers ever
Yes.
were from New Orleans.
yes, there's a rich history there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So my grandfather, I guess you would say, was tangentially involved in politics because it was there.
Yeah.
And then my dad went to St. Aloysius High School, and then to Loyola and Loyola Law School, and then actually worked in the state capitol as staff for a little bit, and then decided to run. I think when I was 6 years old, I'm dating myself. I'm 56 now, so 50 years ago, to run for public office in the lakefront area of New Orleans as state representative for District 94, and he got elected, and he served 31 years in office.
Wow.
Wow.
And I know this sounds like a windy path, but all of this came. So I was exposed to politics at a young age. Obviously, in the 70s, when right to work was going on, there was just a pretty violent aspect to organized labor and the business community and the fights that they were
And that's
having.
interesting because at ABC now, this is a major component of what you're involved in is the concept of merit shop, and you could do so. Tell me about merit shop. But I want to go back to your story, but explain just briefly what that means.
Merit shop just means that you have the right
I can do either way.
to without being affiliated with any kind of labor organization or anything. You have the ability to bid on a project.
Okay.
That's what we believe in.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a free market principle.
Okay.
And over 90% of the contractors in Louisiana are open shop or merit shop
Open
construction
shop.
now.
But in the 70s, your dad's doing his thing.
Yeah, in the 70s,
and it was
less
in New
organized
Orleans,
labor control.
and
a
New
lot of
Orleans
things.
was a heavy union.
Absolutely.
Like Chicago would be.
And the
I didn't
floor
know.
of the legislature back then, lobbyists could go on the floor, and Victor Busey was head of organized labor. Well, I mean,
He was
they
there.
would strong arm politicians on the floor to vote certain ways. Now, a lot of things changed. The law was changed to allow it's the whole right to work legislation,
Right.
which basically spurred on some of the biggest industrial companies that we see in the world now. But that changed the landscape of construction workers on a job site at a oil and gas facility or at a chemical plant wearing that hard hat to working for construction companies, industrial construction companies.
Yeah.
But then you saw in New Orleans area too, just a flourish of companies that started up, and we mentioned one earlier, but some of these old line New Orleans, Landis, Gibbs, Durr.
Well, what about Bow Brothers and
Yeah, well, Bow's double-breasted. They have
The civil
Broadmoor
side.
is their
oh yeah,
open shop side, and then Bow is Union in New Orleans. So, and there's lots of companies like that.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving a ton of people out.
Right.
That of our members, and shame on me, but there's just countless numbers of success stories on the open shop, merit shop construction side. So it's basically the desire to operate without any affiliated labor organization and not making your people go one way or the other. They have the choice.
So your dad is 30 years in the state legislature,
Yes, so
and he just cranks it out. I mean, he doesn't
Yeah.
have any aspirations to
Well, no, I mean, he
move
really
governor or
enjoyed- I
move
mean,
on.
You had a lot of different, good or bad. You had Edwin Edwards that dominated that area. He was
Yeah, so,
governor
yeah, you're not gonna
three
run for-
times.
yeah.
You had some pops of reform here and there, and then and some good things done. But Hurricane Katrina hit, and that changed the landscape for everything. Where we live out by the lakefront area, much like Gentilly, much like the Ninth Ward, much like many parts of the city, was devastated. And
Yeah, it was kind of epicenter there,
it-
17.
It definitely affected my father's health and just his outlook, and term limits had passed, and things were changing. And so I just happened to be president of our neighborhood association when that was going on. So I got exposed to being on the Diane Rehm show on NPR. I was interviewed by CNN and Fox. I came down here downtown to the Sheraton, and
Like right after-
Shepard Smith's arguing with me whether or not New Orleans has the ability to come back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you
they
and the
had
mayor
this-
were arguing the opposite.
they had this Bring New Orleans Back commission, and I don't know if y'all remember in the Tom's Picayune, they had come out with blue dots on certain areas of the city that they were just going to turn into
Oh, yeah.
open spaces.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people
yeah.
were like, yo, we
Yeah.
want to come back.
And you were the neighborhood
Yeah, I was
association
president
of
the
Lakeview,
Civic Improvement
which is,
Association.
that's a big
So this is kind of another exposure to politics. It doesn't directly relate to construction.
But who are you
but
working
it's-
for? Like, what was your livelihood back
So
then?
at the time, I was working for a wine and liquor distributor. It was
Okay.
one of Bill Goldring's companies. I worked for the Great Southern Division. It became the Pelican Division. Many people remember it as Magnolia Marketing.
Magnolia.
And he's a great philanthropist in
Yeah,
New Orleans
absolutely.
today, and a great guy still.
Yeah.
Owns Sazerac Company and what have you. And they treated us really well. But it was almost like I had two jobs, right? I was a salesman during the day, and then I would be in the back of a grocery store, and I'm getting interviewed by CNN or Fox. It was just
Like
a crazy,
weeks and months after
yes,
Katrina.
yes, because the recovery took a long time.
Yeah, right.
It was truly interesting. They had some folks from Kobe, Japan, that came down and met with our group that helped rebuild the city in Lakeview area or lakefront area, because they had been through an earthquake. And so it was kind of like an
Yeah.
equally devastating thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is a long roundabout way
Yeah.
to get to, yes, I was exposed politically, and I decided to run for office. That did not end in a successful for me, but it pushed me into a different phase of work. I stayed involved with the neighborhood, but it led to me working for a public policy think tank, which then led for me to work with a consulting firm, which then led me to meet the lobbyist for Associated Builders and Contractors, which then led to me getting this job. So that's kind of my career path, from being a neighborhood activist
Right.
and a salesperson to working for a consultant firm that dealt with free market type of principles, to working for ABC, who carried that that they have that political influence both at the national level and local level.
How old were you when Katrina hit? You were like in
I
your
was
30s.
31
How old were you, Shelby?
I was a
years
freshman in college
Yeah.
at UNO.
I had a 10-month-old, and my wife and I each had little starter homes, and we were renting one and we were living in the other, and we were like, what are we going to do? And
Wait,
so
were both
we-
of the houses water?
Oh, we had over 10 feet.
Yeah.
The lake
Everything
area number,
Lakeview was
when the
completely-
17th Street Canal, when
was
that
over.
collapsed, we got water from London area and from the backside also. I mean, storm surge really did come. A lot of people say we didn't get hit by the storm. We got hit by the storm. Yes, maybe the eye hit in Mississippi, but that storm surge.
Right.
Now, you can argue whether it was a man-made or a natural disaster. I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, but it's truly remarkable how far we've come and still have to go.
And back then,
those
when
type of things.
you were exposed, like your father being in the position he was in, you were around politicians because obviously he had friends. And then you also were friends with politicians along the way.
So decision makers, yes. So,
People that are in power.
yeah, which is crazy. So Congressman Scalise, or Majority Leadership Scalise, is a friend of mine, and so that's an interesting that kind of came about generically. He knew somebody that was working with my dad at the time, and we were actually fraternity brothers in college, and kind of tangentially knew each other a little bit. And then it's funny, I'm just left a GNO Inc. meeting this morning, but Young Leadership Council was a big deal in New Orleans, and we had just gotten a new police chief appointed here, and there was some excitement in the city.
Right.
This is going back before Katrina, obviously. Steve Scalise was running for political office, and I knew him a little bit, and I said, well, hey, man, I want to help you out.
And that
So
was
I
the first time he ran.
It
for
was. In Old Jefferson area, I learned about some different neighborhoods that I had never been in, and around Lafayette Park and Airline Park, and
Yeah.
just all up in that area.
Yeah.
Helped him canvass, and he won that election, and then he became a colleague with my father, who was still in the legislature at the time. So it is pretty neat that you have that, and then of course he's advanced in his career to where he ran for Congress, won in Congress, was able to move up in leadership from the Republican Study Committee to the minority whip or majority whip to majority leader today. So it's pretty interesting, and we're pretty blessed to have not only the Speaker of the House, but the majority leader. It's the first time ever that you've had the two top-ranked officials
From
in the U.S.
Louisiana.
Congress, both from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's
So
strong.
It's
So how did all of those things along the way affect your leadership style now? Because you're in charge of this. Every time we meet you and people that are around ABC meet you, you're such a gracious guy. You're so inviting. You're always, shaking hands and, very open and engaging. And I would think that your father might have been sort of that way. Like
He's
he
a
was,
little bit more gregarious than me, and maybe
Oh,
a little
really?
bit more of a
I thought you were gonna
temper
say-
than me.
I thought you were going to say quieter.
No,
he was really
certainly-
outgoing.
Yeah, he was very colorful.
But politics,
But-
that's how
But
Louisiana.
he definitely exposed me. Like, relationships mean so
Yeah,
much.
that's right.
In construction, in any way of
That's
life.
right.
And I think it's the people. It sounds cliche, but the people of New Orleans, the people of South Louisiana, are special. We
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
I'm excited about football season, and
So
I'm an
excited.
LSU guy, and
Right.
and
Yeah, but if we do something,
somethings, and
when we
it's just
we
different.
it's interesting though because when we do something in our company, you show up,
Yeah.
and that's important. Just being there,
Well, you guys are members. You are the
Yeah, I
greater
know,
part
but
of the
still.
community. So yes,
It's
I think
it's
it
a
is-
nice thing that you show up.
I appreciate that. Y'all are a great part of the construction community.
Yeah.
Tasch is really neat because y'all have all kind of things that y'all celebrate, the subcontractors and the other people that work for you and the owners that you're working for.
Yeah.
And a lot of our members do that. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's unique here. Not only are we trying to bring everybody up and have everybody safe and trained, New Orleans community is unique. We have a good time along the way.
That's right.
We love our culture, and our culture is something to be celebrated. That you can go down a laundry list of things that maybe aren't the best, but I will put that up against anybody in the world, is what we have here, and the genuineness and uniqueness of our community. And I look forward. I have two sons, young adults in college right now, and I'm hopeful that the greater New Orleans area is going to be a place that they can
A
thrive
strong
in as
place
well.
for them to prosper and not have to leave. And when you think about you transitioning from that, where you were into construction, that must have been something sort of completely alien to you and strange. It's like you're going to become a construction
Right.
guy.
Me, who
Yeah.
I mean,
probably-
I'm not the handyman.
Right.
I can change a light bulb and I can
Right.
do a couple of things, but I certainly by no means had that background. But what I did have was, you mentioned the political background, and so the free market side of what we believe in. And I was
Big part of it.
I was friends with the lobbyists for ABC, and I was, we were helping growing in businesses with some of the economic development incentives and just trying to help Louisiana grow. And he said to me, he said, Jeb,
Who is that? He?
John Walters.
John Walters.
He's no longer our lobbyist. He's moved on he worked for Chevron for a little while, then LSU, and I think he's actually going to work for a consultant firm now. But he's politically involved. He had worked for the clerk in the Speaker's house for a decade before he was with ABC. So he had a political background, and we knew each other, and we lobbied together for some of the same things. And he said, Jeb, you ought to take a look at this position. And I had been to ABC. We were members of ABC. Believe it or not, I got to be vice chair of their little government affairs group for ABC. And so I was exposed. I was a member of Associated Builders and Contractors. I think that's a
Wait,
that's
how were you a
delineation.
member?
Because our consultant firm
Oh, as a consultant.
had joined.
Okay.
And the guy that I was
Okay.
my direct boss at the time, or partner, he had worked at LABI, Louisiana Association of
Oh.
Business and Industry.
Yeah.
And then but before that, he was the CFO of Cajun Industries, which is a huge
Yeah.
industrial member of ours that to this day is huge ABC members.
Yeah.
And so there was a connection to ABC. I guess you mentioned construction, and when I was young, and right to work, and then when I'm working for the free market think tank, it kind of
was just
the
all kind of-
lines, and then I'm working for a consultant firm, and we're members of ABC.
Right.
And then my friend who's the lobbyist, and we're lobbying together, and I'm growing in my professional career, and he says, you should look at doing this. I said, I'm not an association manager. I'm not a construction guy. He said, yeah, but you have the roots, you have the beliefs. These guys believe in the same thing that you believe in.
Yeah.
So I went through an interview process and kind of in a circuitous way, and they liked what I had to say, and I was excited to take the helm of the ABC New Orleans Bayou chapter in the end of 2019, or maybe the beginning of 2019. Yeah, I think January 1st.
Just
or
in time for
January
COVID.
2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, my first year, I'm kind of wet behind the ears, learning the ropes, just drinking from a fire hose, getting things off the ground with I inherited some great staff. I inherited 2 vice presidents that knew a lot about our training facility, and we have 125 welding booths at our location in St. Rose, which is more than anywhere in one spot in the Gulf
Yeah.
South. But they had built a ecosystem of students that were feeding our industrial contractors already there. I was just able to accentuate on that and operate on the chapter side in addition to the training facility side, and really hopefully bring ABC more to the forefront. And so this community that you've talked about and how welcoming it is, and people compete with each other, and we're featured in the Region magazine this quarter from G&O Inc. And it just talks about that.
Oh, ABC is in that feature?
Yes.
Okay.
But I digress. What
When you
where-
but when you get there, you
Yes.
don't you really okay. So construction and all of this, merit shop and political peace and all that's super important. The labor thing is important. But at this moment, you don't have construction knowledge. It's okay. But you also are not managing dozens and dozens of people. So now you got to run an organization.
right. It's totally like I'm excited.
So
I believe
now,
in the same
how do you?
things.
Where is your management style coming from? Because you really hadn't
Right. In the past,
done that.
I had been on some nonprofit boards, and I mentioned that time at the Civic Association working with, but I had never directly had a staff of people that reported to me.
And you're
So that was a
dealing
learning
with,
curve.
I don't want to name names, but you're dealing with big time contractors in the city, influential people that manage hundreds of people.
and millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars in construction. So you're right. So I'm there for a year.
It's a bit
COVID
overwhelming.
hits. There's this craziness of what do we do? And I had a couple of those guys call me and say, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
Because
who
like
was
we've
it?
got
Yeah, but I will say this, because I love to talk names. I really want to talk names, but I'm not going to do it. But ABC before me was influenced by amazing contractors and people who put a lot of effort into the organization. Past chairmen that we talked about in the past that went above and beyond just running their business, and they wanted to give back, and they did give back.
They did. They believed in the greater community,
Yeah.
not just construction.
Yeah.
I think
They
the
found
fabric
their
of our
place.
life here,
Yeah,
schools, hospitals,
Yeah,
the things that you guys are building today.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And some of those guys, as they get older, they kind of realized, I want to do that. I want to give back. I want to, my place is made. I'm kind of settled in with my business, and now I can spend some time doing other things. And that was huge. That's huge.
it is huge, and what you're seeing is most of those companies pass that torch on to the next generation.
Yeah.
It's pretty ironic. Some of the most iconic, without getting the names, and some of those most iconic construction companies in the New Orleans metro region are now in their second or third generation of leadership within
Yeah.
the same family.
Right.
And in particular, I think of 3 companies that are run by female executives now.
Right.
That their dads had started.
And it's okay.
those
We can
businesses.
say, those are great, Landis and Gibbs, and
and Durr.
And
yeah.
Durr,
I
and
mean,
those are
that's pretty
great.
unique companies.
and
Absolutely.
that's a lot to be proud of. In those families, in my own case, my father started. I'm second generation, and my sons will, be taking the business in a different direction, hopefully a successful one, and actually making money.
Well, y'all are very entrepreneurial, and they've coming up with some ideas. And you're doing regular construction, but I know you've adopted technology and.
Oh, I want to talk to you about technology, but for sure, when you get there, your leadership style is what? I'll drink from the fire hose. I'll learn everything I
Yeah.
can. I'll listen to you guys, but at some point, you also kind of got to flex muscles a little bit, right? You got to say,
I'm not a
in.
fire and brimstone kind of leader. I'm
But
more
you
of a
still-
collaborative leader,
Right.
I view my style as
Right.
um,
But after 7 or 8 years, you're just kind of a fixture there, and everybody's accepted that
well,
it's a
I'm
wonderful.
lucky.
You're a leader of that organization, and it's successful, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I think a lot of people understand that it's very. I think you're very advocacy minded. So
Right.
you
You're
don't
helping.
have
It's a huge part of what I do.
You don't have a construction background, but that's not what we need. Everybody that's a member has that. We need the advocacy. We need,
Right.
we need what you bring to the table.
So that's kind of, I guess, the 4 pillars of ABC, and advocacy is one of my strengths for sure. But we want to let the whole community know what we're doing for the greater good of everyone.
Yeah.
So it's not just political advocacy. It's advocating for this hotel, the Omni Hotel that's going to be built here.
Right.
It might be the linchpin to us getting the 2031 Super Bowl, right?
Right.
I mean,
Oh, wow.
Advocating for the city, for
Yes.
the area. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We need to grow. It's one thing. New Orleans recovered from Katrina, and there was a bump from that, and then we kind of. I'll say too. I think we had a downfall in political leadership, both at the state and the city level for a little while, and for about a decade, we've just been flat. And for the first time now, we're looking at. It's great to get these new project announcements and to have a lot jobs affiliated with them and big capital investments, and we need that. But we need to grow as a region, right? I mean, for New
Yeah.
Orleans area to be sustainable, we don't want to be flatlined. We want to grow up. If you look at the demographics of the South in the last 20 or 30 years, or even go back further than that, and look what happened to Atlanta and Charlotte, and Nashville. And
People are
Huntsville.
leaving New Orleans.
Yeah, but we're starting to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the next phase of leadership for our city and for our region is we need to grow in population. We need to attract seniors to come here.
Right.
We have something special here that nobody else has.
That's right.
And we need to celebrate that, and we need to work through our problems and build upon the greatness that we have and expose it to more people, so that our next generation stays here and that we attract people to live.
If you look at ABC as an organization, advocacy group, a group that really helps its members, and there's a lot of organizations like that, like the ones you're talking about. But for us, it's construction. And what are the perfect kind of members? I mean, who are the guys that can really come in and make a difference in your membership? Because you have pretty big membership.
Yeah,
now.
we have a couple of
1,000.
a couple of hundred member companies, but and nationwide,
There's thousands.
thousands. I mean,
Right.
the statistics escape me at the moment, but yes, we represent the majority of industrial and commercial construction throughout the
Right.
United States,
Right.
and in the southeast region of Louisiana.
But in New Orleans,
Bayou.
in the Bayou chapter, do you think it's more architectural builders like Gibbs and Landis and Woodward, and we talked about? There's a lot of names. I keep saying the same names. I wish I wouldn't say the same names. But there's all the civil guy, Durr.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned other civil people
It's-
and
we're-
brothers and
we're a combination of industrial and commercial construction.
and what other membership? Who else can you add, and that could bring value to your membership that you might not have?
Absolutely. Some folks that maybe just are new and up and coming, and also some folks that are established, because we're speaking for them. We're going to advocate for the good of the greater industry no matter what. You kind of mentioned the advocacy aspect of what we do, both politically and from a humanitarian standpoint for the civically for the area. But then we're training, right? We're training the workforce. I mentioned these 5 buildings that we have on our campus in St. Rose, and satellite facilities at some of the high schools in the river parishes and across the lake and downriver in Plaquemines Parish that we have MOU, memorandum of understandings with, where we're training the workforce. So that's a big piece of what we do too. I mean, we are cranking out welders, some of the best welders. I'd put our welders. We have a national competition with ABC. We have a local competition, and then we pick a few people, and then we send them to the national craft championships, if you will, where we're competing against other ABC chapters and countries. And we, over the past decade, I can't tell you the number of gold, silver, and bronze and safety awards that we've come from that.
We dominate.
We're highly recognized for the quality
How many
of craftsmanship.
How many craftsmen will you graduate?
So it just
and
depends
what
on
and
the
what
given-
groups? Welding. You talked about welding.
And there's different types of welders, right? You have your
pipe welders.
plate welders, and you move to stick pipe, and then you have
Right.
you have people that are TIG welders, and then that moves into exotic metals, and then welding is such an art. It's somewhat of a gift, It's like playing the piano. If you have the skill, you can learn the skill, but if you just have the innate ability, you can take it
Like
to a whole
hand-eye
other level.
coordination.
And that's odd. Anybody can work hard and do the craft and be successful with it. Some
Right.
people have the ability to take it to the next level, and the amount of money that they can make is.
What are the
they can go
numbers of
travel.
people that you graduate?
So we just had a graduating class. We just had a ceremony, and I think between the apprentices and the graduates, we put out a couple of hundred people. Now these are people that are going through sometimes a 4-year apprenticeship or sometimes a 2-year craft training course, and a lot of them are working during the day with their jobs and coming to us at night. They're
that's
getting up
tough.
at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, working a full day of work on a job site,
Right.
and then coming to us for 3 hours 2 nights a week.
You do
for a
electricians
semester.
too?
We do. We have electricians and instrument techs and HVAC people and welders, pipe fitters, we're getting ready to train for these data centers. We're going to have a data center technician coming out, in the
Right.
next year or so as we work through this meta project. But yeah, it's really interesting. The advocacy piece, the training piece, safety's paramount in what we do, right? That we believe in world-class safety as an organization. What does that mean? That means not just being safe on a job site and wearing the proper PPE and having the morning talks before you folks go out into the field.
Right.
That means mental health too.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
And just total human health. Unfortunately, the construction industry is laden with a lot of mental health issues.
Yes.
I mean, it is one of the highest industries for suicide.
Yeah, I
which is
didn't
terrible.
realize that a couple of years ago. It was shocking to me. And we
have our little chips.
We had our chips. But yeah, that was shocking because I guess up and down, employment, you're not knowing, you're working outside, you're worried
All
about
kind of
things.
factors.
There's a number of
Very
things.
high stress.
So we've wrapped our arms around that. We teach we have a certified instructor for vital cog training, which is basically suicide prevention. And that's something that's available to all of our members, right? So not only do we play and have fun with our members and they get together for the common good, we come together to train, we come together for safety, we come together to make everybody better contractors, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of the organization. It's that fourfold pillars of advocacy, training, safety, and then networking, right, Randy? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
y'all
The
mentioned
women in construction one.
yeah.
So great.
We're proud at
Yeah.
ABC New
Yeah.
Orleans Bayou. We have a extremely active. We've had 3 female heads of our chapter. I'm the president and CEO.
So, yeah, how does
but
that
I
work?
report
Yeah.
to a board of 22, and then there's an executive committee, and I get a new
22 people?
Yes, I get a new chair.
That's a lot to deal
every
with.
year. It is lots of personalities there.
All right.
The executive committee slims it down a little bit. We also have an education trust that deals with that side of the training and what we do, which is another completely separate board. But yeah, I report to that board of directors. So every year I get a new boss, which is kind of fun. Different people,
Right.
different walks of life. This year, my boss is from ISC Constructors, which is a big industrial electrical. Next year, my boss is with Landis Construction. He's done procurement and done several things there. So it kind of goes back and forth between the commercial and industrial side.
okay.
Occasionally, I'll get an associate member, which is somebody that's in insurance or law or something that's helping the construction industry. But by and large, it's somebody that is working for an industrial or a commercial contractor. So yeah, that is pretty neat. And I am the buffer between staff and management.
How many staff members do you have?
So we have 7 staff folks
Okay.
on hand.
But who are the teachers in these sits? Those are different people.
Yeah, so that's a furtherance of staff. So a lot of the people that teach for us at night and will be teaching for us going forward.
Or not full-time employees, but they're
No, but they work.
Industry
a lot of them
people.
are either retired or they're still working for their companies, and they care again about the greater
Okay.
community.
Yeah.
And they're coming and teaching electrical, welding, instrumentation. Some of them are these high school instructors during the day. I know at East St. John, at Hanville, those guys both they work for those school systems, and they're teaching students crafts and trades and working with them during the day, but they're coming to us tonight and teach for us at night. And a lot of those same students, it's almost kind of like a step up, the best of the best that they have that show acumen and
they're interested. They want to care. They care.
They come.
Yeah.
And so it's a great community that's been built up on the workforce side and on just the membership side of what we do. I'd be regressed if I didn't mention. You said the networking, but Randy, you guys have been to
yeah.
some things. I mean, we do.
Yeah.
We do a fun event at Rock and Bowl. We do a clay shoot. We do 2 golf tournaments. We have
Yeah.
an excellence in construction gala where we promote all the projects that people have done. We're at the World War II museum this time, so it's truly. You mentioned women in construction.
Yeah.
Young professionals. These are groups or subgroups within our organization. Again, member-led
Do you think you have a reasonable number of small contractors, or do you feel most of your guys or bigger contractors?
It's a mix of both, but there's
Yeah,
room
look-
to grow, right? The
Right.
subcontractor community is so large, right? That is there's
I
only
just,
a finite-
I have a feeling like some of those guys, they're kind of small. It's intimidating. They're going to come, like I would like to see them. And I mentioned this a while back is as they come in, I would have interest in, being a part of the sort of a mentoring piece, component of it.
I would love that because subs really work for all of the GCs, right?
Yeah, not
It
just
just
subs, but
depends
small
what-
GCs, but also, I think, yes, there's a place for subs. Isn't there a subs organization?
There is.
But it's not a real active.
Well, they don't have a brick and mortar facility. We're
Right.
friendly with them.
Right.
And a lot of those folks are members of us too. So,
Right.
but there's many more I think that aren't really affiliated with anybody that should be members for us.
So really what I'm getting at is your organization is so important. What are the roadblocks? What are the things that are keeping you, like, what is it that you're trying to knock down so that it's more inclusive and people feel
Sure,
welcome?
always trying to push away barriers that say, you are pigeonholed in this political sphere or that you don't, I think sometimes we get misread as we only represent a piece of the construction community, and that's not true.
You want to
We're there
represent
for
all of
everybody.
it, right?
We, the old saying, a rising tide brings up all ships.
That's
I
right.
firmly believe in that, and
That's
that's what we need with the state level in the greater New Orleans region. I think it's essential in the construction industry for everybody to come to good. To come together for the good of the whole community, and you're seeing it in some instances, and then there's some people that kind of want to go in their corners and do their own thing, and that's fine.
Who are those people?
I'm not going to name names, but it's actually a short-sighted view because when something big like COVID happens, or you have a catastrophic event like devastation from a hurricane or something like that, it's harder to function as an entity. Whereas if you have a greater community, you can come together and really build some things. So,
But even that, I mean, even not just when there's some catastrophic event, but just the little small things along the way. Me coming to your crawfish boil, meeting people that I would have never met otherwise. Those are really, really great opportunities. And when you feel at home, you feel invited, you feel like as though you belong. All of those new relationships, like I don't know any of those people in Baton Rouge, but every one of them had opportunity for me to talk to them and share with them.
and there's opportunity, right?
And
Like,
then that
sometimes
turns into work.
Yeah,
I'm not
sometimes
out there intentionally looking for it,
commercial and industrial guys.
but we need
become
each other.
Friends,
Yeah.
they end up becoming
That's right.
godfather of each other's. They get involved in an organization. They build a friendship. They build a bond, and they end up working together sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes they're building personal relationships, and that opens a whole new. I mean, I know, for instance, I can think of a few right off the top of my head where a commercial guy grew up in Plaquemine, not Plaquemine's parish, and another
Baton Rouge,
guy,
Plaquemine.
yeah, like rich with industry and what have you, Iberville Parish.
Right.
And another guy, they're both on my executive committee, and they're both young guys in their late 30s, early 40s. They're the next generation of leaders in construction.
Right.
And the other guy is in the insurance business or in the
He's a member. Insurance people?
Jason Corey. They not only do insurance.
Oh, Corey
Corey
Tucker and LaRoe,
which
yeah.
is a great
Yeah.
group.
So Jason is
Yeah.
Stephen Corey's son.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I was staying away from names, but it's Kenny Derwan. That's how he says it. I say Deruin.
Deru,
He
yeah.
doesn't. He doesn't.
I know Ken.
But he says Derwan. He's with Performance Contractors and Jason, and they've built a beautiful friendship.
Yeah.
And yet they're gonna layer each other in years. So I mentioned I have Pete Denham from ISC right now, then Jamie Kristovich from Landis, then I get Jason Corey, and then I'll get Kenny.
And these people probably never meet each other otherwise. Like I'm a member of CFMA, and I've met people from all over the United States because of peer groups that I've been part of. Yeah, I might pick up the phone and call a contractor in Denver that's friends with me. It's like I would have never met these people otherwise. Where could I?
Which is unique about our organization too, right? We have this unique local community of contractors that you can, but Also, that's another point to ABC and why it's good to be a member. There's 67 chapters around the United States.
Yeah, we
so if
talked
you're
about-
doing work in another part of the United States or
Right.
world, I guess we're in Guam and Puerto Rico too.
Okay. I didn't know that.
That there's the possibility
You worldwide.
for them to say, "Hey, Jeb, do you know somebody in
Sacramento.
Tennessee or California
Yeah.
or Illinois or Florida, wherever?" And I can say, "Yeah, let me call my equivalent, the whoever's the president of that chapter, and we can help put you in touch with some subcontractors, or you want to bid on a project and you just want to get ingrained in the local community." That's a place I know for a fact. On the Florida Gulf Coast, we've had 2 or 3 of our member companies just set up offices there recently in the last 5 years. And I was the conduit introducing them to the head of that ABC chapter from the staff standpoint, and they've integrated, and it's a success story for everybody.
Do you have these big national companies like CBRE, JLL, CSRS? Are these people members?
Some of them are, and some of them are of some
And
chapters.
can they be
and not
chapters, different chapters?
Yeah,
They may
so-
be a part of one chapter somewhere and not here.
Yes, and some of them. So wherever the first chapter that you join, that your national membership goes
Okay.
through that chapter. But we have several of our own companies. You mentioned the big industrial guys, and even some of the commercial guys that are
Right.
members of multiple ABC chapters. And every chapter is unique and has its own kind of feeling of what they do and who they represent and how they train, and everything's a little different. But what brings us all together are those 4 basic pillars or principles of we talked about. Of,
Yeah.
Again, I'm just going to safety, networking, advocacy, and training. I mean, that is ABC.
Yeah. And so if you look in terms of like what's happening in New Orleans right now, you mentioned a couple of jobs. Just give us the highlights of what's going on. Oshner's got 2 major things going. You got the Omni Hotel that you spoke about.
It's exciting.
You've got the Meta Center, which is kind of not New Orleans.
No, but like-
if you look at New Orleans proper, well,
Just look at the region, downriver in Plaquemines Parish,
But
right?
I haven't been down there
global LNG
because-
facility.
because there's
is
you can't get down there because there's a traffic jam going
Right.
south.
Right. But they're getting ready to double the size of that thing
Yeah,
in the
it's
next
crazy.
few years. So you have that, and just with AI and data centers are taking off. You definitely have your tradition. Look at what's going on with the LSU hospitals and Oshner Hospital, and there's a lot of building within that community. And then schools, right? I mean, you saw a complete review
Yeah.
of the inventory after Hurricane Katrina, but you're
Yeah.
still seeing a lot of different things built. I mean, the discovery schools and the charter system that we have in the area, and just traditional schools. You're seeing in Jefferson Parish, I'm watching the consolidation as the population has aged and changed.
Right.
They're shifting some, and they're looking.
You
to,
see 2 major schools going up in Jefferson Parish, and another third getting ready to come out. So it's big
absolutely.
big work coming.
So, but a lot of that is we talked about. New Orleans has to grow, right? Or the region has to grow, or the state has to grow. And as that grows, when you see cranes in the sky,
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
That's a good
that means we're
something's
growing.
happening.
Life is happening.
How does ABC relate to Louisiana Contractors Licensing Board? I mean, is there any
So
kind
we
of
do
connective
have,
tissue?
There is. So we have. I think by nature of the statute, we get a certain amount of appointments that the governor appoints, but they have to come from ABC, and there's several associations. And I know for a fact we have one of our members. He's a past chair, Kyle Condon with Landis Construction, sits on that board. So that's an important piece for us,
Do
right?
you have to do like? Can you influence the direction of the law for contractors? Or the,
Absolutely. So I think in one of our talks, we talked about following the public bid law is something that we believe
Right.
in strongly, right? And you've had a couple of people try to skirt around that, and I think that contractor licensing board is extremely important
Yeah,
for
they-
that,
I think
right? I
they
mean, if
do a lot
you
of
have a
influence.
municipality or somebody that's breaking the rules, I mean, I guess that's another function, really, of that board. But of our association, we are celebrating everyone and the good work that they're doing. But if somebody is a bad actor in the community, we want them to be penalized
isolate,
and put on the side and put in time out and said, hey, you got to do this the right way.
right.
So that licensing board we definitely have influence there. We'd like to grow our influence there. It does represent, I guess, sort of a regulatory group that helps maintain that we do things the right
Is there
way.
only those two chapters in Louisiana?
There
Pelican
is. So just,
and Bayou.
we're blessed. I mean, Texas has a bunch of chapters, and
Well, what are the poor
Florida
people
has
in
a lot too.
Shreveport doing?
Well, we're servicing
Bossier
them
City.
roundabout.
What's
You know,
happening?
I mean, Arkansas is helping them too.
Okay,
You
good.
know, I mean, so yeah, with 67 chapters around the country, it's interesting because, excuse me, like in the Carolinas, they have one chapter for North Carolina and South Carolina.
So
They have
we're-
two states.
So we're doing better
So
than
they
that.
have councils in all of these municipalities that kind of function as their own little independent subgroups within the greater. So it's just set up differently. And you know, in California you have a bunch of chapters. Texas you have a bunch of chapters. Pennsylvania has a bunch of chapters. In Louisiana we have two. And it's really, I would say, there's more commonality between the two chapters than difference. Other than, I would say, in the Baton Rouge and Lake Charles, they are much more heavily industrial. I would say in Greater New Orleans, we are a mix between commercial and industrial construction.
So I want to talk about the future a little bit, and we'll start to think about wrapping it up. But what do you think is, happening in the next 10 years for ABC, and how does AI and artificial intelligence and all of that affect and influence the future, in your opinion?
I think it's so exciting and scary at the same time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're on
Right.
the wave. I mean, I come from the era of being a little kid and turning the knob on a black and white TV and
Right.
then seeing that turn into cable and then seeing the
Right.
internet take off and I could go on for stories forever. Then now we control everything in our phone to now we're involved with this Meta project and they're giving us these glasses that you can talk to and they're going to tell you something.
Right.
But so in our industry in particular, it's affecting everything, right? I mean, the things that used to take hours and days and weeks, you can take a best practice and have that replicated through AI.
That's right.
There's always dangers, but I think technology is incredible. It's typically, it hits Louisiana a little bit later than it's hit some other places, but I think now we're becoming a little more technologically adept. And I think I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think you with these big companies investing in Louisiana, I think you're going to see more investment from.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of rumors that some land has been bought in Southwest Louisiana, and Elon Musk, who to me is a pioneer in not just AI, but just the next wave of entrepreneurs and the wave of the future. Those types of companies, may be making a major investment in South Louisiana. How exciting would that be? But like, it changes how I put an agenda for a board meeting together, to it changing how you adopt files, and I don't know. I think it's endless, and as you try to get your arms around it, it just
gets
explodes
bigger.
and it
Gets
becomes
bigger and
something
bigger and
different.
bigger.
And so,
Yeah.
I think you can look at that two ways. You can look at it scary and say everything's getting automated and robots are going to take over, or you can say life is ever changing and technology is part of that, and you can adopt it and it can make you better. And I think that's the direction we have to go.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you. This was a joy.
I want to thank you for coming. And you've always been that guy, welcoming, inviting the membership, your group. I think is influenced by your leadership and the way you handle yourself. And so I want to particularly say thank you for that.
And we're blessed
thanks
for
for
members
being
like y'all, right? We need more Tasches in the world. We need more folks to get involved that can see above just what because everybody's busy, right? I mean, I tell our staff all the time, their primary job is their business, right? We're secondary. So it's our job to be, I like to say, we are the ambassadors of yes in the construction industry.
I think as a young man, I would say, why would I join a group that's a bunch of my competitors as general contractors?
Right.
And then as I grew a little older, I said, oh, there's a little value. And then there's a tremendous value. So I think as you mature and you get a little bit older, you see the value in the organization.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate everything you
I
do.
appreciate y'all having me today. It's fun to do this and to to talk about something that I love and that I have passion for.
Absolutely.
And
That comes
and
across.
believe in the free market principles that the ABC and the greater construction industry represent.
Well, Jeb Bruneau, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks,
bet.
everybody. It was great to be here today.
You bet.